Hello and welcome everybody. So we're playing with some coding robotics. We've got our microbit and we have a Wukong expansion board. What I'm doing right now is some NeoPixels and a thumbstick. And so we don't actually have to have the Wukong expansion board. We can pretty much have any expansion board. Um, Nothing special other than we need a place to, we can't just use the microbit because I need an output for the NeoPixels, and I need 3 inputs for the thumbstick. Now, if I only wanted 2 inputs for the thumbstick, that would have worked. Because again, I have 3 pins that I have good access to 0, 1, and 2 that I could just alligator clip to if I wanted to. And these can both run on 3 volts for the microbit. Even though 5 volts are better for the NeoPixels, they can still show up and do things on 3 volts. So if I only wanted to do 2 inputs from the thumbstick, I could have just used the microbit, and then one of the other pin would be output to the NeoPixel, and then everything would be plugged into ground and voltage. But since I thought I did, it's got 3 inputs, left, right, up, down, and then a push button. I thought I'd use them all. So it made us go to a um, expansion board, which there are many of. There's another one by KittenBot. I got a whole bunch. They all have different features. So here we go. I've got this NeoPixel strip, which actually has alligator clips on it. So I needed to get some other jumper wires so I could plug in to my board here. I am plugged into pin 15. Just make sure that the right colors go to the right thing, kind of thing. White is signal, red is power, black is ground. And then my thumbstick needs ground, power, X, Y, and switch. And it says 5 volts, but it actually works with 3 volts. It doesn't work with 5 volts for some. It'll work, but the numbers are a bit different for some strange reason. The numbers that come from a thumbstick are 0 to 1023, basically. 512 is in the middle, so right now it would be reading 512 because it's in the middle. And when I would go one direction, it would go 0, and the other direction would be 1023, roughly. It's not quite 1023. And then the same for vertically, although it's kind of backwards in that up is 0 and down is 1023, but that's just the way it is. So I've got that wired into pins 0, 1, 2, 3, pin 0, 1, 2, sorry about that, and then some power. All right, and here is my microbit, and I'm going to plug my microbit in and code it. So then let's get over to code. I'll leave that there. Let's get over to code. Now, I do need to get an extension for the NeoPixels. And if I get the Wukong extension, it would be there. But NeoPixels has there's one from Adafruit, which is awesome. And again, the first thing you have to do is you have to tell the microbit you have some NeoPixels. And they are on pin, what did I say, 15? And I think it's actually 30. I don't have to use all 30. I could just use some of them, right? And then here's something someone also says: you put something like an icon or something to show you that the code has been loaded, especially when you're doing multiple iterations of the code. Like change this so that second iteration has 2 kind of things, so you can see that when your new code gets loaded. Okay. Now here is a new thing. We want to, well, this isn't new yet. We're going to show the rainbow on start also, just for fun. All right. So now here is the new. Here's math. The thumbstick goes 0 to 1023. The color code for colors goes 0 to 255. So we have to change our numbers. So what we're going to do is we're still going to do a show strip. Show strip color. And here's the color, right? Okay. But I need a couple of variables. I need a variable for blue and a variable for red. I'm only going to do red and blue because I only have 2 inputs I can really change. The push button, just a push button. So I could make that be 0 or 255. Do some green, do no green, kind of thing. I guess I could do that. We're just going to play with that. We need a variable for blue and a variable for red. So I'm going to just change the red and the blue. All right. So here's what we got to do. We got to make those numbers change from 1053 down to 255. So there is, if I can ever find it, this thing. It's a map. It will take your numbers and change them from a high-low to a different high-low, which is awesome because that's exactly what we need to do. All right, so where am I plugged into? I have analog pins. No, not that one. Here we go. I have analog pins on 0. No, it's 1 and 2. On pin 1. And I need to go from 0 to 255. Boom. And then I have the same exact thing, but on pin 2. So let's just change that to pin 2. But that's not red. That's the blue. Oh, I didn't need to do it twice. I need to do it that way twice, right? Okay. There we go. That's what I needed. All right. So it's gonna map my 1023 down to 255. And it's gonna show that. So this should just be being able to change and show different colors, different mixes of red and blue. Fingers crossed, right? All right, so let's hit download. Let's go over to the camera. All right, there's my thing saying, hey, you've downloaded the code. And now I'm going to plug this in here. One nice thing about the Wukong bit is they actually put a 0, 1, 2, 3 volt and ground on here to remind you which way to plug this in. Very nice of them. I'm going to turn this on, and we should get some color, right? So now let's move our dial. All red, all blue, and everything else is going to be a combination of red and blue. So again, this to the left is 0. That happens to be 0 blue. Up is a 0, which happens to be 0 red. And then down would be completely red, but I'm in the middle, so I'm getting half blue. I'm getting half and half right now, right? And then down is half of one color and all of another color, right? So in the middle here, I'm half of each color, but over here is all of one and half of the other one, right? So over here is like, all in all kind of thing, right? Down in this quadrant. So that's a 0, that's a 0. And then mixing. Just an interesting thing I thought it would be. Now let's throw the switch in here. I'm going to turn you off, pull you out, code you again. Now here's a new thing with the switch. That switch is a digital, so there are something I do need to do. Pins. I need to tell that pin, that's on pin 0, to be high all the time, kind of thing. Set it to a pin up. So otherwise, I think it can float, and then that just messes things up. And then I'm just going to bring a loop. Nope, not a loop. Logic if. Yep, come on. If what? If what? If we need that other little thing, comparison. If what? If pin 0 gets pressed, basically. If digital read pin 0 goes to 0, and that would be it gets pressed because it's set to high, and then 0 would 0 it out. Let's make things green. Let's make things green. Now, I'm not perfect on the, what the setting something high, setting something low is. I mean, I do know if I do it the other way around, it doesn't work. And let's pause. Let's give it a pause. Pauses are good at times. And let's pause for a whole second. All right, now, again, let's say, hey, this is my second iteration. Now I'm going to plug my microbit in. I'm going to, there, change to download. I'm going to hit download. Going to go in the camera. And as you can see, we got 2 there now. Awesome. That means we downloaded. Plug this in. So the red and blue should, still be the same, right? Because they didn't change those. Here's, oh, please work. Ta-da! So push button, and that's, I mean, I could make that push button trigger anything. That push button could be triggering a motor or a servo, or, but again, it's just a on-off trigger kind of thing. It says, hey, something happened, do this now. And that's the idea of the if. But I thought I'd stick with the colors. Now I think I would need, I would need a second thumbstick to do like mix all 3 colors. Or I could get 3 potentiometers. I mean, because again, you need red, green, and blue. So how are you going to do red, green, and blue? Now remember, I set this to have no green. Ooh, 0, 0. I like that corner. Yeah, think of it in quadrants. 0, 0, and then up here in this quadrant is 0, 0. It's like at a 45, right? And then we get some red, we get some blue, and then everything else is a mix. Okay, and then I set the push button to make green for a second. So let's pop back to the code just to. So we had to tell it we have a strip. This one just happens to be all 30, and it's on 15. This is just for make sure I know that I loaded my code, and this is just initializing. Hey, let's make it have rainbows at first, which sometimes goes away really quickly. And then this pole pin is saying, hey, set that digital pin to a certain thing, so I know what it is, and I can make it happen from there. And then this is a combination block where it's show a color that's a mix of red, green, and blue. I zeroed out my green, and I set a map to take the analog number from pin 1, and same thing over here, but one's for red, one's for blue, from pin 1, and it's going to read from 0 to 1023. I don't need that number. I need the number to be from 0 to 255. So this maps those numbers down to there. You could have tried, like dividing by 4, if you wanted to. Just take a number and divide it by 4. You could have done that, right? Because that's basically what it is. So I could have just done a little math thing. Where's my math? I could have just said, hey, whoop. I don't know why you do that to me. Hey, take, the analog and divide it by 4. All right. That would have worked probably, maybe a little bit differently, because you would have gotten decimals, and I'm not sure what it would do with decimals. So you might want to try that. Let me know. So I did that for red and blue, but then I added, hey, if I get a press on the pin, let's just show green. And press in this case got signified by a 0. Sometimes you think press would be a 1, but depending on what's happening, sometimes a press is a 0. That's the fun. So give that all a try. Uh, Again, you could have used any expansion board that you needed there. I just needed more than 3 pins because I had 3 inputs and an output. Enjoy.